Welcome back to the 31 Days of THORGIWEEN, where all month long we are doing a movie review every single day of a spooky, scary film. And this is the second week, which means we are now kicking off the theme weeks. First week, it was just whatever we wanted to watch. From now on out, we are going to be doing theme weeks with the movies we're watching. And considering this is the second week, our first theme week is Sequels Week. It's gonna suck. Yeah, sequels in general don't have the best track record out there, and horror movies don't have the best track record out there, and this isn't quite like multiplying negatives.
Although there are some horror sequels that actually are pretty good.
There are some. We actually do have a few to talk about this week that we actually like more than the one before it. That's not what we're starting with, though.
Nope.
This one, I actually had people request that I talk about this one, and it just so happens it was a sequel. We are talking about Blair Witch, Book of Shadows. Book of Shadows will not be making an appearance in this movie. There is no Book of Shadows in the Book of Shadows. What the fudge does that title even mean? So, let's give everyone some backstory. I actually liked the first Blair Witch film. I understand people not liking it, but I did enjoy the... Wow, our dog is chewing down on a toy over there. I don't know if you guys can hear that. It sounds like she's trying to eat a carrot. Just... But yeah, I enjoyed the first Blair Witch film. Because... yeah, the acting wasn't great in it, but it felt like real people to me, and it felt like you just found this tape laying there. And that's what a found footage film should kind of feel like to me.
Didn't it kick off a found footage
It really did kind of blow that up, which I talk about this in another video that we have coming up later for Tales from the Vic. But I'll go ahead and talk about it here as well. There was a film that, this is one of the most heartbreaking stories in horror movies to me ever. There was a film that came out the year before the Blair Witch Project called The Last Broadcast. And it is basically what the Blair Witch Project was, except in the last 5 minutes of that thing, they fuck everything up. And I know everybody's gonna say, the last 5 minutes of the Blair Witch fuck everything up. No. Last 5 minutes of the Blair Witch film plays into the idea of it being a found footage film. You might not like the ending of it, but it does still play into that. It did get people talking. It had people going, ooh, could it be real? It got people, like, you know, moving the found footage thing forward and got the communications going with people. The ending of The Last Broadcast, they stop the found footage thing and they just come in here. I'll go ahead and let people know what it is. The entire movie is a documentary about these campers who went lost looking for the Jersey Devil, and it's this guy narrating the documentary, but then cutting to their actual footage. So it's like, okay, yeah, nobody had really done anything like this. This is actually smart. This is kind of like, I know that there was stuff like Cannibal Holocaust before that, but this really was going to be kind of that thing that could kick off a brand new found footage craze and actually get that ball rolling. At the end of The Last Broadcast, skip ahead by 2 minutes if you don't want to be spoiling this thing. At the end of this, the narrator takes a guy who says he thinks he knows the answer to all this to some location. Then the narrator kills that guy, and it's revealed he's the one who killed these campers. And it just stops being like found footage, stops being a documentary, any of that, and it just becomes like a slasher thing. And I was like, wow, that's stupid. That's really stupid, and it doesn't go along with the rest of this film at all. And when you realize that came out a year before Blair Witch, you just look at that film and you're like, you were that close. You could have been on the cover of People magazine. You could have been the guy at the MTV Movie Awards. You could have been doing all this stuff.
You could have had hundreds of people going into the Jersey woods looking for the devil.
Yes.
The Jersey Devil, but instead we got a whole bunch of people going to the Maryland woods to look for the witch. So
yeah, it's like, man, you fucked it up so bad. That, like, man, you shot yourself in the foot there at the tail end. How do you, that is you tripping and falling with the finish line right there. And it's so heartbreaking. So heartbreaking. It's like, that guy was that close. This was a sliding door scenario where that guy almost became a superstar. Didn't happen. It's such a shame. But yeah, so I like the original Blair Witch film. We actually saw the just not the Blair Witch Project, but just the Blair Witch, I think it was just called. The one that was basically just a flat-out remake of the first Blair Witch film. I like that one because even though it's just a flat-out remake, it's a remake that's done better than the first one. So it's like, all right, I'm fine with that. And I love the last 10 minutes of that film. Last 10 minutes of that film, I thought they knocked it out of the park. But we had never seen the second one because we had always heard how awful it was. This did not disappoint. So yeah, this film, it's set in a reality where the Blair Witch movie actually happened, went into theaters, the big craze was going down, but it's also in a world where the Blair Witch is an actual real thing. And this is starring this guy who leads Blair Witch tours into the woods alongside these two scholarly people. I don't remember, I think they were students working on a thesis, but they look too damn old to be students. But they're working on some kind of research project about the Blair Witch. And then there's also a Wiccan in there who she's trying to get in touch with the actual spirit of the Blair Witch. And there's also just a goth chick in there.
Yeah, who apparently is psychic, but she hardly ever uses her abilities.
She discovers. She fucking learns that she's psychic during the middle of all this craziness, and she doesn't really ask too many questions about it.
Yeah, it's she doesn't really do anything with her psychic powers to help anybody out.
And she doesn't ask any, she's just oh, I had these visions. I don't understand why. I've never had these visions before. Anywho, moving along now. And God, if you thought, it feels like this movie was made for the people who are well, Blair Witch has a cool idea, but I hate all the characters. Oh, you'll love them after this. Oh, because these people tank the curve for everyone. This is some of the worst characters I've ever seen in a horror movie. They are atrociously written.
Oh, and by the way, this is not found footage.
No, it's not.
No.
This is, like I said, it is set in a world in which the Blair Witch film actually happened. So it starts off with journalists actually covering, everybody's been flocking to these woods out in the Maryland wilderness. And then it shows us a little bit of the guy who's going to kind of be the protagonist. I mean, if anybody's the protagonist, it's him, I guess. But he's the guy who's leading the tour. And he also makes all these Blair Witch wooden
the little stick figures and just sells them.
And he has an online store, and it's the biggest online store for the Blair Witch merchandise in the world. And yet he still basically lives in a dump. He lives in an abandoned building that he bought for a nickel off of people. And it looks filthy. I'm just dude, no way. If you are the #1 Blair Witch store in the world, after the Blair Witch exploded, are you living such a slob? You have to have better stuff than this.
Also, she should have more workers.
Yeah. How is he able to get all this shit out there?
Honestly, he's the only person who lives in this giant warehouse, and it's how are you able to ship out and make all this merchandise
and lead these tours at the same time?
It's
yeah, it made no sense to me. It was clearly written by people at that turn of the century era in which people were okay, well, the internet is blowing up and being a thing, and you can make a real business off that, but they didn't know how to actually make a real business off that thing.
They didn't understand how the internet worked.
It was right before that internet bubble burst, and everybody was oh, we don't know what we're doing. So there's that guy in there, and he is just clearly the biggest, I don't want to say scam artist, because very quickly they learn oh, shit's really going down, and he's totally on board with it. But beforehand, you get the sense that maybe he kind of believes in this stuff, but you get the sense he's also kind of believing in it just because he likes the attention he's getting.
Yeah.
Because he mentions that he was in an insane asylum, and I don't think they ever actually say why he was in the asylum either. But you see him being tortured in there because he's constantly having flashbacks to it. This, by the way, was the super spy from Burn Notice. For anybody who watched that show, Burn Notice, the protagonist of that show was this guy with really messy hair and bad facial hair. It was so weird seeing him in this role when I grew up knowing him as that dude from Burn Notice. It'd be if all of a sudden you discovered Pierce Brosnan was in a film where he played a Rastafarian or something. It's you're James Bond, what? Pierce Brosnan might be an old reference too at this point. But yeah, so he's in there, but then there's also they're a married couple, and one of them is pregnant, and they are scientists of some kind, and they're working on a project.
Yeah.
They have no real personality to them.
Yeah, other than oh, woman's pregnant, that's her personality.
Oh god, you're right. The guy at least has the guy is at least like, well, I'm horny for this Wiccan. Like, that's his entire personality. But that's at least a thing. She's just, oh, she's pregnant and not feeling well. Go in the corner now. Let's not speak to you again. But dear God, the goth and the Wiccan are so horrible in this movie.
They're like so obnoxiously stereotypical and annoying and
I had to yell. I at one point actually yelled, "Oh my God, shut up!" At one point when the Wiccan was like, "Oh my God, you're just part of the problem of the capitalist system." And like, listen, man, I'm a big hippie liberal myself, but dear God, this was the biggest nasty just stereotype of those people. And yeah, little secret. The big hippie liberals like myself, we kind of hate those big stereotypes as well, because like, oh my God, they're so annoying. Shut the fuck up. Shut your mouth. It's so, just every word out of her mouth was, actually, like everything out of her mouth. And the goth is just there to be
the other pretty girl, like, I don't know.
Which is so weird because you keep looking at everything that the Wiccan is saying about, like, oh, how society has structured everything. It's like, shouldn't the goth be the one saying this shit?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
yeah, and it seems like they just get, like, they, at the end, kind of split the characters into, like, they at one point were one character. Because also, like, the goth just has psychic powers for no fucking reason. And she keeps getting flashes of the Blair Witch. But the Wiccan is the one saying that she came here to commune with the Blair Witch and to have like a connection with her and to get in touch with her like Wiccan roots and everything. I was like, how come she's not the one having the flashes about the witch? How come, what? It really is like you had to go out of your way to fuck that one up. Like you literally have a character in there, her entire purpose is I'm the one who could possibly have a connection with the witch, and another character is the one who has it for no reason at all. Like, I seriously think that, like, the goth girl must have, like, tried out for the role of the Wiccan, and they're like, oh, shoot, well, I'm a horny Hollywood producer, and we only have one role, but both of you are hot. So I'm gonna create a whole other role in here. Like, it feels like it's that kind of a thing. Not to make light of that kind of a situation, but it is the kind of thing where it's like, I think that might have been what went down on this. And it makes it so much more disturbing to watch this film. Especially when you consider how many times these characters get naked in this film.
Well, like, it was mostly the Wiccan who got naked.
Yeah, she gets naked at the drop of a fucking hat in this movie. Dear God!
Which is like, I'm pretty sure even Wiccans are offended by this.
They have to be. I knew some Wiccans in college.
I knew some in high school.
I think everybody knew some Wiccans in high school and college. Like, everybody knows some Wiccans at some point, and they're like, none of them acted like this. Like, at all. Like, none of them did. But here's the thing. It'd be one thing if they were trying to, like, if they were like, I've never met a Wiccan in my life, so I'm going to write someone who I think is like a Wiccan. But then wouldn't you still try and write them as a character we would want to follow? Wouldn't you still try and write them as like a good character? Because her character sucks. She's so unlikable in here. As I said, like every line out of her mouth is just, actually, this is the reality of the situation in here. And I was like, oh my God, it's like reading internet comments. Dear God. That's what every single character in this cast is. They're just YouTube comments. Just given form. Oh my God. So yeah, it's so just, the entire cast is so unlikable, but they go out there into the woods and they like decide they're just gonna get drunk that night.
They're gonna get drunk and high and...
I'm like, aren't two of you fucking scientists who are here for a purpose? And isn't one of you here to like commune with nature? And like, okay, have the goth and the jerk-ass con artist guy, have them get drunk, but it's like, how are the rest of you doing that? And then they wake up the next day, and you just see all these pages, just a massive, like, collection of pages that this guy wrote for his massive research paper on the Blair Witch, just scattered and just shreds of it flying everywhere. It looked like snow.
Honestly, I made a joke about like, oh, they were too cheap to get like actual like fake snow, so they just tore up the script.
I had to stop for a second and wonder if that was true. I had to actually wonder if this was supposed to be snow.
Yeah, it's like, because it was just so shredded up and it kept blowing in the wind.
It kept going.
Kept falling out of the sky.
To the point where you would think one of them at some point would actually look up and go, where's all this coming from? No. No one asked that question. But that's when the goth girl gets her first psychic vision of, I know where the tapes are. The tapes of what happened last night. We have to find. They're over here, hidden behind this thing. And again, there's no fucking explanation for how she knows that. Like, at all. Sorry, I'm screaming so much, I'm destroying my own voice. So they get the tapes, they go back to Connor's guy's headquarters, and he starts reviewing the tapes, and there's like a massive 3-hour chunk in there that's missing, but then they start doing weird experimentations with the tape of stuff that maybe it's stuff you can actually do with tapes. I don't know. I've never actually edited.
It's been a long time.
I've never actually edited tapes. I've only edited digital stuff.
Yeah, I remember editing tapes back in high school for in class and video audio class, but that was a long time ago, so I don't even remember.
I did it on mini DVR tapes in college, so I have some memory of this, but still these are VHS tapes he is editing together. And yeah, he's going through it. And which again makes me think this is stuff that you can't actually do if you're missing 3 hours of a VHS tape. Because digital, yeah, there might be a way to recover that. It's probably lost inside the system somewhere, but VHS is kind of right there on the...
Yeah, it's I was looking at it, it's how much of this is actually real? How much of this can you actually do to...
How is his editing skills and his online business less believable than the actual Blair Witch? So he's trying to edit this stuff together, and they keep finding little bits in there that starts making them get suspicious of each other, because they see footage of what's her face, the Wiccan just dancing around naked out there, the first of many times that she just randomly gets naked in this film, and then they start putting other pieces up together, and then they start hearing stuff outside, and the pregnant woman ends up having a miscarriage, and she has these visions of this little girl in a dress talking to her and walking backwards, and it is the worst reverse motion that I have seen. It is such bad reverse acting. It really is. I think they were trying to go for a Twin Peaks kind of thing, the dream sequence in Twin Peaks sort of thing, where someone's dancing backwards kind of thing.
I guess.
But it's no, man, it doesn't look like walking, it doesn't look like dancing. If it was supposed to unnerve me, congrats, you did, but honestly, not in the way you wanted.
No, it feels like one of those GIFs you see online where someone just deliberately messes it up to make it look stupid.
You could remix it and put dance music over
exactly.
it. Yeah, and have it go back and forth
yeah, exactly.
That kind of thing. It looks like that. And yeah, this is unnerving, but not because it's scary, but because it's stupid. But because it's how the fuck did you make this? Why on earth did you make this? And they do it another time later on, but then she not only walks backwards, she does it in fast motion.
Yeah,
so it looks even better
they were winding a tape, or
yeah.
I guess that was the whole point. It was supposed to, because
that he's trying to edit inside. But man, my arm hurts from that reach. That is, I'm trying to give this movie a point.
Because I remember at one point, the lady who had the miscarriage, she was play the tape backwards and you'll find the answer.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's maybe that's why the little girl was walking backwards, because the tape said to be backwards.
God, it's almost worse that there is a reason behind it. It's almost worse that there is a reason behind it now. Because you tried to come up with an explanation for it, and that's what... I saw a ghost girl walking backwards. Play the tapes backwards. I saw a dog that was white. Try picking the white labeled tape. No, that's the level of stupid that this is. By the way, he's also, in order to scare off intruders, he's got a door alarm that when you open the door, it makes dog barking sounds. And man, we have a dog, as you could tell from the beginning of this video, where she was just chewing on something off screen. Yeah. That got real annoying. There needs to be... Amazon. We watch this on Amazon Prime. Please invent a brand new system where it's regular English audio, but every time a dog barks, you replace it just with a pop noise, or popcorn popping. You replace it with a honk noise. Just anything that a dog wouldn't normally bark at. Because... our dog, we had to every time that he opened the door, I was hold girl, it's okay. And she was like, brr, brr, like at the screen. I was like, poor thing. It's not even a real dog in the fake movie. It's a fake dog inside the fake movie.
Eventually there were dogs in the movie, but apparently they were just illusions or
There's
some shit.
so many times in this movie where they walk out their front door and it's like, oh, there's something spooky. Turning back around now and going inside. Closed door. Other person walks outside. Oh, something spooky. Turning back around, going inside now. And that is the biggest problem with like half of this movie. Because like half this movie is them inside like his editing lab. Mm-hmm. Half this movie is them just sitting around waiting for anything to happen. Mm-hmm. This film is so goddamn boring.
Yeah, and like whenever anything does happen, it's just an illusion. Yeah. It's just like they're hallucinating or some shit.
Exactly. It's I mean, there's a moment in which it looks like the big what was it, bridge that leads into his office just collapsed. Then it's back. Then it's gone again. And it's like, well, what the fuck? I don't know which of these to actually believe, and I guess that's what they're going for, but I'm not invested enough, and you're just showing me random images here, so I'm not like scared of anything that's gonna happen. I mean, yeah, it's whatever the witch is outside, it's basically just trying to keep them inside of here.
Yeah, like, I guess the witch is supposed to be fucking with their brain or something.
It's trying to keep them from leaving this for some reason. And I don't know why they're not allowed to leave. Maybe because you wanted to drive them nuts to the point where they would turn on each other. But again, it's like, you can do that anywhere. This whole idea of like, they go outside. Oh, the bridge collapsed. Goes outside. Bridge is there, but now there are dogs out there. Go outside and there's the weird backwards girl. It's like, okay, I know all of these aren't real and you're doing them just to keep people inside. If you want to keep people inside, one of them has to actually be real. To keep them from, because eventually we, the audience, are going to catch on. That's like, none of this shit is real. Just walk the fuck out of there, and you're free. But because these idiots never once caught on that, oh yeah, none of this shit's real. It was just nothing but go outside. Oh no, go back in. That is the most scares that you get out of this entire movie, because the rest of it is them just sitting inside this fucking editing room, just there like, all right, well maybe if I try this with the tape. That didn't work. All right, let's try this thing with the tape. Can someone go and give me some fucking coffee or something? Like, that's like a huge chunk of this fucking movie.
Yeah, like, you'd think like most of this movie would be them out in the woods actually exploring.
How is it that they weren't able to go into the fucking woods in a Blair Witch film? Like, they don't even spend a lot of time in the woods. Like,
they spent like one night in the woods and then...
not even that. It's not just one night that they spend in there. They go into the woods and immediately it just cuts to them going to one location. How is there a tree here? There wasn't a tree here before. You're just messing with us. No, guys, seriously, there wasn't a tree here before. Well, maybe we should just make a camp here. Right next to that thing that you are terrified of. That's a great idea. It's like, weren't you just terrified of this spot like 5 seconds ago? Well, yeah, they literally, their whole time in the woods is one location, one night, instantly go back home.
Or to the warehouse.
To the warehouse, where they're not allowed to leave, but they're not allowed to leave because of illusions. And it's like, well, we know that they're illusions and we know they're not real, so yeah, just walk out the fucking door.
It's like the only time they ever like left was like to get like food or some shit, or to get beer, yeah, so it's like...
And again, that just feels like a filler scene, which it comes back into play later. It comes back into play because, you know, spoiler alert, we're getting to spoilers on this one here. But at the end of this movie, it's revealed that the goth girl who went to go and get beer, she runs into a mean lady at the counter, at the counter, and she like throws the money at her face and is like, "Here, take the fucking money," and she just leaves with the beer. And then like at the end of this, the cops are like reviewing security footage with them, and you see like the goth girl like stabbing her there at the counter and killing her, because basically the big thing is the witch like forced them all to kill people, but they didn't realize they were doing it until the end.
Yeah, and they're like, it's all on tape. The evidence is on tape. And apparently the witch fucked with the tapes too, because...
But if she fucked with the tapes, then who killed the girl at the counter? Like, yeah, it raises numerous questions.
No, I mean, like, she... I don't know.
Yeah, see? Like, at one point, they killed the lady who was pregnant because the witch possessed her, and they're filming it to try and get her, the witch inside her body, to confess to doing all this stuff. And because they're now wanted for the murder of another tour group out there. And they're filming her to try and get her confession. And then at the end, they're looking at that tape, and the lady is like, what are you talking about? I'm not a witch. What are you doing? Honey, no, don't do this. So I was like, okay, well, maybe she altered that tape to have her say that. But if she didn't alter the tape, if she altered the tape at the quick stop there at the little concession stand, then who actually killed the lady working at the concession stand? The only other explanation is that the witch was messing with them and forced them to kill people. And it was like, well, then doesn't it seem like there's a much more interesting movie in there than us sitting around an editing lab and then it being revealed that there was a more interesting film happening that we just didn't see?
Oh, by the way, when they played the tapes backwards and found the missing footage, it was just them being a bunch of shitheads in the woods.
No, they were possessed by...
They were possessed, but it made it look like that they were just being...
The footage that they find is all of them stripped down naked. Not just the Wiccan girl this time. And except for the woman who was pregnant, and she's like in robes, and it's just like, like waving sticks around, and they're all like bowing to her, and then they all go running off into the woods naked and apparently kill the other like tour group, and then they come back, and then the next morning they have no memory of it. So that's why they're like, okay, well, she's the one possessed by the witch. Again, there's such a better story in here.
Yeah, it's like... It feels like the Blair Witch didn't really have much to do with this.
The Blair Witch, again, it feels like the Blair Witch was doing all this crazy shit off camera that we didn't see until the very end. And it's like, well, then that's not interesting. Mm-hmm. Because we didn't watch any of that. What we watched was, all right, let me play the tape back. All right. Oh my God, a creepy girl outside. Girl is gone. Oh my God, the bridge is gone. Guess the bridge is back now. Editing. I'm going to get beer. Editing. There's dogs outside. Editing. No real dogs. Editing. Yeah, this is just such a waste of a film. Because it's these people, it's like a bottle film. Mm-hmm. It's people trapped in like one location for this entire time. And it's so weird that you're like looking at the last Blair Witch film and it's like, wow, imagine what those guys could do with a budget. Never mind, they didn't want to do anything with a budget. I don't know how much this movie cost to make, but it must have been cheap. Like, probably even cheaper than the first Blair Witch. I know it wasn't actually cheaper than the first Blair Witch. Nothing was cheaper than the first Blair Witch. I understand that. But yeah, this film is such a bag of nothing. Mm-hmm. It's like, this film is the equivalent of being stuck inside of one place for an hour and a half with 5 people you really don't like. Like, that's what this movie is.
And that would be enough to, like, drive you insane and try and kill him, so...
That's what happened in this movie.
Yeah.
God damn, I want all of them to just shut up. Just shut up. Just everybody, just stop talking. Everybody just stop talking. All of you are awful. You're all bad. It's important to me that you all know that you're very bad at what you're doing here. I'm giving this movie... Man, what did I give Slender Man? Did I give that a 3 or a 2? I give it a 2.
So what would you give this?
I'll give it a 2.5. It's better than Slender Man.
Yeah.
I'll give it a 2.5. What about you?
I guess the same thing. I mean, I'm not really a big fan of the Blair Witch movies.
Okay.
I mean, it's not that I don't like them.
You're not into them.
It's not really into them. So it's hard for me to, like, compare this to the other ones, but as far as like a movie by itself, It is a shit movie.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, don't bother comparing this to the first film. They don't. This movie really, it really feels like it should just have been its own thing because it's not even like any of the shit in this film like really ties back into the first film at all in any way. I mean, shit, this movie doesn't even tie into its own title.
I know.
Where the fuck, who even pitched Book of Shadows?
Maybe Book of Shadows was the documentary the college guy was trying to do, and...
Maybe. Also, who would be dumb enough to bring every bit of research you have, because he's freaking out, because like, there's no way I can get all this rewritten in time. It's like, well, then why the fuck did you bring it into the woods?
And they mentioned it in they're like, don't you have them back up on computers? Like, this is the original stuff. So
he said not everything, just notes were on his computer.
Yeah, so it's like, wow, what's the point?
Typically, you do that the other way around, you idiot. You save the real shit on the computer, and you carry around the notes just with you. So that way you can just jot that shit down whenever you need it to be jotted down. Then you take that back to the original stuff, and then interpret your notes into actual words and sentences and whole paragraphs in there. This is how fucking writing works, which apparently I have to explain to the people who made this movie, which after watching this movie, you know why they need writing explained to them. This is awful. It's so bad. Hey, we have our first freak out of THORGIWEEN 2018.
Well, time to change the thumbnail.
Oh, yeah, jeez. We do, I guess, have to now come up with oh, no, because our thumbnail this time is us as the Frankenstein.
Yeah, so I was just thinking, movie bad!
Yeah, but our normal rage one is me screaming with fire around me. I was like, you can't do that with Frankenstein. Because then you'd be like, fire bad. Oh my god, this movie's such a waste of everything. It's so disappointing on every level. Even when I knew it was going to be bad, it's bad. I knew it was going to be bad, but to this level, Jesus. I'm trying to think of anything else I want to throw in here at the end. Also, the order in which this story is told, because there's so many flashbacks.
There is.
They
did flashbacks.
And flash forwards.
Flashbacks and flash forwards, during, the opening credits. So it's where is this supposed to be happening? And it kind of takes away the suspense, whatever suspense there was.
Yeah, that's another thing. There's, no suspense in this movie, because they were constantly cutting ahead to them, already with the sheriff, going we know you murdered them and here's all the proof of it, then cutting back to when they don't know what's going on, and we're like, well, I know how this movie's gonna fucking end now, you idiot!
Oh, by the way...
Wow, I wonder what happened during those 2 hours. Well, you just told us in the flash forward you murdered people.
By the way, the opening credits is Disposable Teens by Marilyn Manson. That is the most 1999 thing ever. Holy shit.
Ooh. Yeah, that dates this film.
That and the fact that they also open with MTV News.
Yeah. Nothing says this movie's day like Kurt Loder popping up. But they don't just have flash forwards to them being grilled by the police for what they did, that they're in the middle of the movie still trying to figure out what they did. So, spoiler, we now know what you did. But they also keep having flashbacks to the guy who was the tour guide to when he was in the mental asylum. And eventually it got to a point in which I was like, does he go back to the mental asylum at the end?
Yeah, I couldn't tell if that was a flashback or a flash forward. Did they drug him up again or not?
When you can't honestly tell what order the movie is in, it's a problem. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and not in the it's a twist at the end that's revealed. It's no, we have now seen this whole film, and I still don't know if he goes back to the mental asylum at the end, and that's what all that stuff was. It's were parts of the flashbacks to the mental asylum flashbacks, but some were flash forwards. I don't understand any of this shit. And also, here's the thing: when they do flash forward to the other people being put on trial. And they're like, oh no, I swear to Christ, I didn't do this. When they do that, am I supposed to think was that supposed to be a trick? Where I was supposed to also think those were flashbacks? And I was supposed to think they had done some stuff in the past? Because I didn't, ever. I always knew they were flash forward. Was that honestly supposed to be the twist at the end? That's those weren't flashbacks to their troubled past. It was flash forwards of things to come. It's you gave us no history on any of these characters, so I didn't think they were parts of their past. It's what? The only guy I did get parts of their past to was
the tour guide. Yeah.
So that's why I thought that his were flashbacks. But then, there's so many of them that don't tie to anything, and then you have flash forwards in there that maybe some of them were flash forwards in there that were supposed to trick us. This movie is such a mess on every goddamn level. Mm-hmm. I might have to go down to a 2. Like I said, when you get into below 5, it's not a steady decline. It's an exponential decline. It's a bobsled down a mountain there at that point. So there's a big difference between 2.5 and a 2, and... Actually, I think I gave Slender Man a 1.5. If I gave it a 1.5, I'm going down to a 2. This is half a point higher than what I gave Slender Man. That's what my score is. Oh, God. But yeah, okay, so we've got... we've already watched a couple of other sequels that we know we're talking about. One of them I actually like. One of them I didn't like, but it's so batshit insane. I still think it's going to be fun to talk about. And then we got 4 more coming up. So make sure that you come back for that all week long. And remember, next week we will be starting a brand new theme week. So make sure that you come back for that. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. And
we hope you liked this review since you kept asking for it.
Yeah. You guys, you got what you want on this one. My throat is destroyed. Anywho, happy Halloween.
Bye.
That was the end of my voice. I have nothing left to give.